Bill.
When did the administration begin its review of the declassification of the so-called 28 pages, the last chapter of the 9/11 report?
Bill, for the details related to the declassification process, I'd actually refer you to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. His office is responsible for these kinds of declassification exercises, and they'll make the necessary decisions about which of the materials and how much of the materials can be declassified. I think the President has made clear that trying to prevent bureaucratic overclassification is something that we've identified as a policy priority. And there are a number of steps that we have taken in recent years to make clear that that is a priority, even in a national security context where classified material, preserving classified material is entirely legitimate. A couple of examples of that. The first is the administration did support the declassification of the key elements of the Senate's report on the former CIA interrogation program. This is what's often referred to as the RDI report. And there was a vigorous debate, both in the intelligence community but also in Congress, about whether or not key elements of that report should be declassified, and the administration did support the release of a declassified version of that report. The other example that I can cite, and this is something that we've been talking about the last few weeks, which is the commitment that the administration has made to making public instances in which non-combatants are killed in counterterrorism operations overseas. There's some more work to be done on this, but this is something that Lisa Monaco, the President's top counterterrorism advisor, discussed in a speech recently, and so we would anticipate that we'll have more news about how that information will be released in the coming weeks. But I think it does reflect the important progress that we've made over the course of the administration. You'll recall, Bill, that in the early years of this administration that individuals who are standing where I'm standing wouldn't even acknowledge that those counterterrorism operations were taking place. But now you have a situation where the administration is laying out a key system for not just acknowledging that those operations took place, but also disclosing more detail about the consequences of those actions.
Back to this particular case.
Yes.
You know when the declassification ever began? Because in the NSC statement today, they say that they hope to have it done by the end of the administration. For how long is it supposed to take when you have members of the 9/11 Commission, at least 3 of them, and 2 former members of intelligence committees, and according to former Congressman Romer, even the Saudis saying that it should be declassified?
Yeah. Well, Bill, I haven't seen the 28 pages, and I don't know what they contain, I'm just not in a position to explain what the factors are in their ongoing review. I don't know when that process began.
Did it have to take till the end of the administration?
Again, it may, but without having seen those materials, it's hard for me to explain whether it will or why it would, if it does come to that. Because you did mention the 9/11 Commission, there is an independent investigation that was conducted into 9/11. This was, you had experts who had previously served in government who led this effort, and they did release a report that was declassified. So we do have, when I say we, I mean the public, does have a lot of insight what led to the attacks of 9/11 and what steps were taken to try to prevent it from something like that happening again.
The last chapter of that report was never released.
Well, and this is a separate report. This is the report that was put together by Congress, and yes, that report has not been released, but it is currently being reviewed by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence for potential release. But I just don't have an update on their ongoing efforts.
The President supports the release of this?
I don't know that the President has reviewed those 28 pages. I can tell you that the President certainly does support being as transparent as possible, but he also believes that these national security officials have an important job to do to make sure that if secrets need to be kept, that they can be. So I don't know that the President has voiced an opinion in this particular case, but we can check on that.
If all of these people who have read the report, or many of them, suggest that it should be released, then what's the hang-up? I mean, these are people who've seen the classified information. They know what's in it. And according to rumor, even the Saudi government supports it. So why the hang-up?
Yeah. Well, Bill, I think that we have seen, there have been some high-profile examples in the news recently of how well-intentioned, patriotic national security professionals can arrive at different conclusions about what information can be made public without damaging our national security, and what information must be withheld. And this is always part of a vigorous bureaucratic debate. And I know that bureaucratic often has a negative connotation. I don't necessarily mean it that way. I just mean that there are well-intentioned individuals with different points of view who can arrive at different conclusions, or at least engage in a debate that leaves them on different sides of that debate about what information can be made public without risking U.S. national security. And I can't speak to the nature of the debate in this instance because I haven't read the 28 pages, but the president is certainly hopeful that this is something that they can resolve, consistent with a widely shared view about the need to be transparent, but also the need to protect secrets that are critical to our national security. Okay, Pam.
The review's been going on, I believe, since 2014. So why does it take 2 years to review 28 pages?
Yeah. Again, Pam, I haven't read the pages, so I don't know what's in it. But you can try to check with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, who will oversee that process, is overseeing that process, and may be able to provide you some greater insight into what kinds of factors are affecting the ultimate decision here.
Is the president bound by the outcome of that review? Could he decide on his own to say, I'm going to release it anyway, despite what you're recommending?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I know that people often discuss the fact that the president does have the ability to decide on his own what information can be declassified. But obviously there is a process in place to consider the various points of view about releasing sensitive national security information. In some cases, there's a conclusion reached that this information can be released without damaging national security. In other situations, the conclusion is reached that the information can't be released because, for example, it could reveal sources and methods through which information is obtained. So the need to protect those sources and methods is often a justification for not releasing information. But again, I don't know whether or not that's relevant in the context of this specific decision because I haven't reviewed the 28 pages.
If the information included evidence or indications that the Saudi government or other institutions in Saudi Arabia had some sort of support for the hijackers, would the president feel that he could release that?
I think that's a hypothetical that's hard to address from here. I just don't know whether or not that applies in this case.